How's it going, football fans around the world, and welcome back to my channel. So what I have done for you guys in today's video is I've gone out and I figured out who's going to win the league. I've gone through all the matches for Manchester United, Manchester City, and Arsenal, all three teams who are currently in a title race, and I've come up with the total point tally that each team is going to finish. Nah, but seriously, I know a lot of you may not think that Manchester United are currently in a title race, but go ahead and check out my last video. I give you guys 3 reasons as to why they are potentially in one. And not only that, but stats-wise, number-wise, they're right there. So we just had to include Manchester United, although I hate doing it. They're in terrific form right now. And yeah, so what I've done today, as I said, is I've gone through each and every game for the Premier League for each 3 teams. And I've come up with the total point tally that they will finish with by the end of the season. I know you guys may not agree with me, but let me explain myself, and then you guys can judge and come up with your own opinion of what I've had to say. So yeah, let's get to it. So Manchester United, I have them winning. So let's count. So I have them winning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then drawing 2 and losing 3. So out of their last 14 matches, I have them winning 9 of them. So the reason why I have them losing to Liverpool is, let's take a look at Manchester United's schedule. So if we look at their matches, they have Newcastle in the League Cup final this Sunday, and then they have an FA Cup round with West Ham March 1st, and then they won't return to the Premier League action. They won't return to Premier League action again till Liverpool March 5th. So it's a pretty tight schedule, right? Manchester United, out of all 3 teams, have had the most hectic and crammed schedule. The reason being is because they have stayed in all competitions, unlike Manchester City and Arsenal. So that's why I've gone with them losing there. That's why I can see them losing a bit of focus when it comes to the Premier League. If I was a Man United fan, I would prioritize the other competitions. I'm not saying you guys aren't there in the Premier League, because I've obviously said before that you guys are there in the race, but a lot still has to happen for you guys to have any chance of actually winning it, and it's just not in your hands. So if I was a Man United fan, I would take care of what is on our hands. The League Cup is in your hands. The Europa League is in your guys' hands. So because of that, you may prioritize the Europa League rather than the Premier League, because I expect you guys to go on a deep run, and because of that, things are, your schedule is not going to get any easier. So that's why I've gone for Manchester United losing here versus Liverpool. Not only that, it's at Anfield, as you guys can see, also provided with you guys here, if they're away or at home. A stands for away, H stands for home. Not only that, but I also have at. So if you see an at sign before the team name, that means they're at Liverpool. So yeah, that's why I've gone for Manchester United losing versus Liverpool. It is because it's at Anfield. It's super hard to get points there, and I know this isn't the same Liverpool, right? I know this is a struggling Liverpool side, but if they don't get something out of that match versus Man United against their biggest rivals, then I don't know what Liverpool are going to do. So that's why I've gone with Liverpool getting the 3 points there. But then I do have you guys responding versus Southampton. And then I got you guys drawing versus Brighton. The reason being is because it's away from home again. Brighton are a really good side. And if you guys are going to drop points to anybody, it will be Brighton. It could be potentially Brighton. So I've gone with Brighton to tie there. And then I got you guys then losing again versus Newcastle. The reason why I got you guys losing against this Newcastle is because I can see this as like a vengeance game for Newcastle, which I just gave away my predictions for the League Cup. In that League Cup match, I do have Man United winning it. So the reason why I've gone with Newcastle here is because it's at Newcastle, and because I could see Newcastle having a chip on their shoulder after losing that League Cup final. So that's why I've gone for them. Now, if Newcastle are to win it, then maybe things will be different. But as of right now, that's what I got. And then I do have you guys winning against Brentford. I know Brentford are also a very tough team, but I expect Man United to have a chip on their shoulder, right? Brentford humiliated you guys earlier in the season, and this is now at Old Trafford. So I expect Man United to be well up for that match, and so I expect you guys to get the win. So I've gone for Man United winning that. I also do have Man United winning versus Everton and Nottingham. Now this is where things can maybe flip-flop, right? Pay attention more so to the point tally rather than to who I got them dropping points to, because that's what it is more so about. Now, do the run of fixtures that the team have persuade me? Yes, of course, but things could flip-flop, right? Man United end up beating Newcastle and then dropping points to Brentford, right? But it still wouldn't change much in the point tally, because then they would just cancel each other out, right? It would be the same thing, just different teams. So pay attention more to that rather than who they're losing to. I'm not saying ignore the teams that they're playing, but you get what I'm saying. This is more so the amount of points I believe they'll come out with in the 14 matches rather than like who they'll drop points to now. But yeah, like I said, things could flip-flop, right? I can totally see Man United beating Newcastle and Brentford and then maybe dropping points to Everton or Nottingham, because as we know, when it comes to the second half of the season, sometimes it's better not to go against the teams in the relegation zone, because that's when you go against desperate teams who are in a relegation battle that are doing anything just to stay alive. So sometimes it's better not to, but I do have you guys picking up the full 3 points versus both of them. And then the reason why I've gone for y'all to tie versus Chelsea is because if we look back at Chelsea and Man United's current history in the Premier League, they've drawn the last 5 times to each other. Not only that, but in the last 3 matches, it was 1-1. So you know what I said to myself? I said, F it. Let's keep the streak going. Man United, Chelsea will draw at Old Trafford. And then I do have you guys responding versus Spurs. The reason why I've gotten you guys beating Spurs is because if we look again at the history between you guys do have a good run against them. You've won the last 4 pretty comfortably, other than the 3-2 match. But other than that, you guys beating them 3-1, 3-0, 2-0. So I do have you guys beating Tottenham. And then I have you guys beating Aston Villa. Although Aston Villa have given you guys problems in this season already, I expect you guys to go ahead and beat them. And then I have you losing against West Ham. And this is where I will mention it again. It's not necessarily that I don't think you guys can beat West Ham, but I just feel like around this time right here, around these run of fixtures, I feel like you guys are going to drop points somewhere. And where I think the most likely candidate is to be is West Ham. It's because it's away from home. West Ham is another team who potentially will be in a relegation battle at this time, because they currently are right now. And yeah, like I said, it's not necessarily I don't think you guys can beat West Ham. It's just that somewhere around here, I feel like you're going to drop points. And I've just chosen it to be West Ham. So do you guys get what I'm saying now? And then I do have you guys ending the season strong versus Wolves, Bournemouth, and Fulham, picking up max points. I have you guys picking up in your last 14 fixtures 29 to 32 points. Now, I haven't done this with the other 2 teams. The reason why I've gone with 2 numbers, right? The reason why I've gone with the around estimate, between 29 and 32, is because of that one fixture versus West Ham. Like I said, I expect you guys to drop somewhere around there, because you guys could be in other competitions like the Europa League, and so you guys, like I said, might prioritize that rather than the Premier League. And I can see you guys just dropping somewhere around here. Now, like I said, it can be maybe Wolves instead of West Ham, but to me, I feel like the most likely candidate is away from home at West Ham, so that's why I've chosen them there. But then again, I can also see Man United winning that, so that's why I put a 29 to 32. And then as you can see with this number right here, that then brings you with a total number by the end of the season with 78 to 81 points. So that's where I have Manchester United finishing by the end of the season with a total of 78 to 81 points. Now, let's move on from Manchester United. Let's now go on to the second place team, Manchester City. Look, we haven't been the same Manchester City, and this is why I have them finishing the season like this. I just read a stat not too long ago that Manchester City haven't gotten more than a 3-game winning streak this season. That is totally unlike a Pep Guardiola side. Now, I'm not saying Manchester City don't have the capability to do it, but they just haven't shown me or proven to me this season that they're gonna do it, right? There's been so many opportunities where I think, okay, now this is where we turn. This is where things start to go our way. We're going to go on a run here. Our players are motivated. And then we go out 3-4 days later and then throw another stinker. So this is why I have it like the way it is. So I do have us responding versus Bournemouth. We better respond versus Bournemouth. We have to get a result there. I do have us beating Newcastle. That's going to be a tough result. And like I said, I could see the Newcastle and Crystal Palace games flip-flopping, but the reason why I've got us beating Newcastle because we are at home, and then I do have us dropping points to Crystal Palace. The reason why I have us dropping to Crystal Palace is because we struggle against them. We really, really do. If it wasn't for a Holland, I believe, hat trick or brace earlier this season, then they would have been 3 times in a row where Crystal Palace has gotten a result over us. And they're just, in the previous seasons, they've always given us a really good fight. We always struggle against them, and since we're away at their home, I have us then tying that game. And then as for West Ham, I do have us beating West Ham at home. I do have us beating Liverpool at home. Now, if this was at Anfield, I would have bet the house that we would have lost, but since we are at home against this current Liverpool side, I do expect us to get the win. We then go off away to Southampton. Now, I got us tying there. I got us tying against them. The reason being is the exact same reason as to Crystal Palace. We have a terrible away record. This season, our away record has not been great, and Southampton is another team that we struggle against a lot. Like in the past 3 seasons, we've struggled against them. We do have some results where we batter them, and then there's other results like the one this season in the League Cup where they've beaten us 2-0, or I think last season they got 2 draws against us, something like that. There's just another team that we struggle against, and since it's away, I've given Southampton the draw. And then versus Leicester, I do have us getting the 3 points there. And then around this time right here is where I feel Manchester City are going to be due for a loss, and that's just how this season has been going, right? Like if we are to look back at where Manchester City are to lose, this is around the time where I believe Manchester City will pick up a loss. And if there's any team to do it, I believe it's going to be Brighton again, away from home. They're a really good side this season, and yeah, if there's any team to lose to, why not Brighton? So that's why I've gone Brighton. And then I do have us tying against Arsenal. I know that one may confuse a few Manchester City fans because if there's one team we've really succeeded against in recent history, it's Arsenal, right? Like I don't think they've only beaten us once in the past 15 or 14 matches. But the reason why I've gone with the draw here is because this is a different Arsenal side. And although we were able to beat them 3-1, which sounds comfortable, we all know it wasn't. If they would have had a better striker that day, like maybe a Gabriel Jesus, I know he's not that I know for Manchester City fans, he wasn't that clinical, but I feel like for Arsenal this season, he was. So if he was in that side, then Arsenal could have had their way with us. And I just feel like Arsenal are going to be pumped up for that game, right? They're going to want to prove something. They're going to want to show everybody that they're no pushover when it comes to Manchester City. So I don't have them winning, right? I do believe Manchester City would either win or draw that game, and so I've gone with the draw just because of how good Arsenal have been this season. And then I do have us finally going on somewhat of a win streak versus Fulham, Leeds, Everton, and Chelsea. Now, Leeds and Everton are going to be some dangerous game, because as I mentioned earlier, those are going to be 2 teams who are going to be in a relegation battle. So we're going to go up against some desperate teams. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Manchester City beat Arsenal and then go on to lose or drop points against Leeds or Everton. But as of now, I'm going to go with that. I would hope that Manchester City can take care of those teams when it comes to just quality and style of play. And then versus Chelsea, I do have us beating them. We've already beaten them 3 times this season, and we're going to be at home. So why not just, complete it with all 4 wins, and just the way Chelsea have been this season. Now they might have Conte by the time. It sounds like they'll have Conte by the time that is. So it could be a completely different Chelsea, but I expect us at home to get the result. And then I do have us, unfortunately, losing against Brentford. The reason why I have us losing against Brentford is because there's always one team that is able to do a double against us. Not just get 2 draws, not just get a win or a draw, but beat us twice in the season. Last season it was Spurs. The season before that it was, I forgot. I know the season before that it was Wolves. And there's just always that team for us. And this season I believe it's going to be Brentford. If we look at the matchups, Brentford, they know how to defend their goal. They can defend in numbers. And not only that, they are a great counterattacking team. As we've seen before the World Cup, they were able to beat us 2-1 at the Etihad. Now we're going to Brentford. Yeah, we know Pep Guardiola. We know he's a stubborn bastard. So when it comes to tactics, I don't see him switching up much. And because of that, that's why teams are able to do double versus us, is because they just have to do the exact same thing that they did in the first game, and they end up succeeding again. So hopefully that's not true, but just by the way this season has been going, that's why I've gone with Brentford beating us away from home. And yeah, so Manchester City with the last 14 matches of the season will then get a total of 13. Will get 30 points from there, and then that will bring him to a total of 82 points at the end of the season. Is that enough to win the Premier League? Well, let's go ahead and check out Arsenal, who are up next, who are currently league leaders. And, well, it doesn't take a mathematician to know that no. It doesn't seem like it's going to be. I mean, just by looking at the colors of what I have here. Arsenal, I only have him losing one more time. If we look at previous league winners, they usually only end up with around 3 to 4 losses by the end of the season. Like, we last season only lost 3 times. The season before that, well, we actually lost 6 times, but that was COVID season. Before that, again, Liverpool only lost 3 times. 2018 and 19, 4 times. Like, that's the average amount of losses a team that wins the league has to have. Around 3 to 5. And so that's why I have gone with Arsenal only losing one more time in this season. And the reason why I've gone with Liverpool is because they don't have a great record at Anfield, like most teams don't do. Now, I know this is a different Liverpool, but I just feel like if there's any team in this run of fixtures that's going to beat Arsenal, it's going to be Liverpool. Now, it could be Man City as well, but I've already given you my reasons as to why I think they'll get at least a draw there. So that's why I've gone with them losing against Liverpool. I also have them dropping points against Fulham. It's going to be away from home for them. I just think that, Arsenal aren't going to run away with the league. They're going to keep it tight here. And actually, if we look at the last 5-6 fixtures for them, they're going to drop many points. And the reason why I got that is because we all know Arsenal have a collapse in them. And if we remember last season, they were the favorites. I think they were up by like 7 points or somewhere around there on Spurs. And then it came down to the last 10 matches of the season, and they only won 4 out of 10. Because of that, I do have Arsenal making their fans sweat a bit by dropping points to Manchester City. They'll beat Chelsea, I believe, but then dropping points to Newcastle and Brighton. And the reason why I've chosen those matches there is because all 4 of these teams here are in the top 10 of the Premier League table. Now, I know Chelsea are edging it by being in 10th, but it's still a hard run of fixtures. So I do have them dropping a few points there. And at that moment in time, that's where maybe things can get a bit interesting. And then again, I do have them finishing strong by beating Nottingham and Wolves to bring Arsenal with a total of 88 points and them earning 34 out of the last 15 matches of the season. So Arsenal are your league winners this year, with Manchester City finishing runners-up with 82 points, and then Manchester United just behind them with potentially 81, lowest being 78. So it's going to be tight, right? Like, once we get to around this time right here with City and Arsenal, like, it can be very tight. And not only that, I can honestly see City dropping more points. And if that is to happen, I can totally see Man United getting ahead of Manchester City. I really can. Like, let's say West Ham are to win this game and they get the 81. All that takes is for Manchester City to drop in one more game, and then Manchester City now find themselves third. But I just feel like with the reasonings I've given you, I feel like this is the most realistic thing. And not only that, this just gives us an idea of what has to happen for Arsenal to really drop the league to either Manchester City or Man United. And it just shows what it's going to take from the other 2 teams to go on and win this thing. Like, it's going to take a lot from both Man United and Manchester City if they want to win this Premier League, and it's going to take somewhat of a big collapse from Arsenal to lose this thing. So that's why I decided to make this video. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of how things should look by the end of the season. And you know what? I'm pretty confident with what I've done. Like I really am. Like I feel like I've done a really good job, a realistic job of what is to happen. But yeah, please hit that like button if you like these type of videos. I'm up to do more, right? Like we got a top 4 race, although we know who the 3 teams are going to be. We still got that 4th spot, and it's between Tottenham and Newcastle right now. But look, Fulham aren't far from it, right? They're only 3 points behind Newcastle. So is there another team who could potentially get that 4th spot? And then not only that, but look at the relegation battle as well. I would love to do this type of video for the relegation battle. I mean, we got Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Bournemouth, West Ham, Leeds, Southampton, maybe even Nottingham if things go really bad for them. Like, it's a real interesting battle down there. So I would love to do another video like this on those 2 topics. But yeah, please like this video. Let me know down in the comments down below what you guys think. What do you guys think I went wrong? Is there anything that you would change about my picks? Anything you disagree with? And yeah, but other than that, I feel like I've done a good job. I feel like this is the most realistic outcome that is going to happen this season. And so yeah, because of that, Arsenal actually do end up winning the league. But yeah, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.